into the map building. As James said, just make sure you guys are working on your own event under your name. First thing before I even get into it is within RaceJoy on RunSignUp, on the RunSignUp dashboard, there is a couple of how-to videos here. And if you're on your own, you have any other questions, it's just another good resource for you guys before you guys contact us, if you guys just have any basic questions. So what I'm about to do is exactly what you guys are going to be doing. So if you guys just follow closely, you guys will get 100% on your certifications, and you guys will be all certified timers. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to import an electronic course map. It's important to know that RaceJoy is, you're gonna have to use a external map builder. So like a Map My Run, Plot a Route, or like a Google Earth. And then you'll import that KML or GPX file into RaceJoy. So RaceJoy is specifically used to import a electronic path, and it's not meant to be a map builder. But once you import a electronic path into RaceJoy, you can use RaceJoy to edit and maintain your path year by year. So you don't have to like import for 2018 and you change a course for 2019, go back to Map My Run, re-edit it, re-export, and then re-import back into RaceJoy. You don't have to do that. It's all within RaceJoy. So I'm gonna just kind of go through each step and show you guys how to import a path. So what we've done for you guys today is in that Google Drive, it should be under the RaceJoy tab, we've provided you guys with a BDR Savannah KML, and that's gonna be the KML file that you guys are gonna use for your map. So once you go on your dashboard, if you go to RaceJoy and then you go to Map, you're going to come into the Add a Course Map. So all you got to do is go into Load My Course Map. Under Actions, if you select Import Map Path, you can either drag or drop, or you can browse to where you save that file. So I'm just going to select Browse, and you can see this BDR Savannah half Map My Run KML. That's going to be the file that you guys are all going to be using, that you guys have access to. So if you just click on that and open, and what this is telling you is, do you want to generate markers? So what we do is, based on the electronic path, we use GPS to create all the start-finish markers and all the mile markers. So this is typically what you want to do. You want to hit yes. So you can kind of see in the background here, it's just a green path. There's no markers in there. But if I hit yes, you'll see that all the start markers and each mile markers were automatically loaded in based on the GPS coordinates and just based on GPS. So at this point, we've loaded in the course and we've got all the mile markers set. The next step we want to do is we want to make sure that all the start-finish markers and all the mile markers are in the correct spot. So this is really, really important. You want to make sure that all your markers are kind of where they are on the course. So for example, if mile one is not actually here, like on the course, on the signage wise, it's not actually within this specific intersection. Let's say it's up here on East Congress Street, and that's where you have it on the course, like where the sign's going to be. You always want to make sure whatever you have on the course matches up with what you have on RaceJoy. So the same goes with the start and finish. These two are also extremely important. So like if you go out to the course, and if you're the timer and you put down your mats here on East Hall Street, but on RaceJoy, your finish marker is down here on East Fulton Street, the runners are going to be running down here, and they're going to get a notification on their phone saying, hey, congratulations, you finished, here's your estimated finish time, blah, 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 blah. But they clearly did not run over a mat, because what they're seeing in their eyes is not matching up with what they're hearing in RaceJoy. So it's really important that when you guys load in your map, you guys just make sure that your start and finish are exactly where it is, kind of your finish is matching up with all your mats, and then your mile markers are matched up to where you either have it signage-wise or match it up with what you guys have on your USAT course certification. So how do you move all your markers? There's a couple options here. You can simply just click on the marker itself. So if I click on this finish marker, I can just drag it around. So if I wanted the finish to be here on East Hall Street, I can just come here, drop it on East Hall Street, and it just automatically moves it there for you guys. Another option, so if you want, again, this is all about being precise. So if you come in here on satellite view, if you click satellite, this will populate with a satellite view. So, let's just say your certifier said, okay, the finish is, at this crosswalk here, right on that marker there. So you can see in satellite view kind of where that point is, and you can kind of just move it right onto that marker. Another good option is Street View. So down in this corner, on the bottom right-hand corner, you see this little yellow man right here. If you just click on him and just drag them onto the street. Like we'll just drag them here. So this is super handy. So let's say your course certifier said like the finish is right equivalent to where this gate opens up. You know, this is like, you can't really see that in satellite view, you can't see that from above. You can come into street view and you can say, okay, here's where that finish line is, right? So in street view, you can see that the marker is still here. So all you gotta do is you can drag the marker in street view right to that exact location. And then if you come up here to this back arrow, if you hit back, that'll move. You can see that moved the finish marker from that crosswalk where we had to right where that gate opening is. So again, just you want to be as precise as you can. There are also situations where maybe if you're making your own map with like a Garmin, or if your certifier has like specific longitude, latitude coordinates, if you click on that marker, you can type in the exact latitude and longitude coordinates, and then if you select this snap to coordinates, that'll automatically move the coordinate to that specific latitude and longitude positioning. So again, this part is like all about making sure that your mile markers and your start and finish markers are exactly where they need to be. Like I said, so it's all about the experience for the participants. So if they're running on the course, they see a mile marker, a sign that says mile 1, but they don't hear anything in their headphones or through RaceJoy, they're going to be a little confused. So for you guys, it's just really making sure that all of your markers are in the right location so that the experience for the participants is as best as it can be. So at this point, what we've done is we've loaded in a course, we made sure the start-finish markers are in the right spot, and we've made sure all the mile markers are in the right spot. The next thing we got to do is we got to configure all the markers so that it kind of fires off in the correct order. So to do that, if you go up to, this says timing configuration. Just when I zoomed in, it says configuration, just so you guys can see it. If you click this timing configuration, this dialog box will show up. So it's going to be pretty important that you understand how RaceJoy sends out alerts sequentially is based on the distance. So this distance right here, this is the first thing we're going to have to fill in. It's simply just the distance in miles of where each specific marker is. So you can go in here and just manually type in, mile 1, the distance is going to be 1. And then you can also use this autofill, the top right hand corner. So if you hit autofill, you'll see that all the distance populate for all the mile markers. What you're going to want to do also is you're going to have to set the finish distance to 13.1. The start will be 0, there's no distance on that. So you can see, you hit save, it snaps the start to the top just because the distance is 0. And then progress alerts, this next field. Progress alerts are going to be alerts that go out to runners and spectators. And I'll show you a scenario later why you'll want to uncheck that. The audio pace is going to be what you guys heard earlier with the audio alerts to the runners. That includes their pace, their split pace, and their estimated finish time. The point radius, we're going to get into that in a little bit, so I'll kind of skip over that. The progress displays, this is, so when you're monitoring, you have a leaderboard. If you want to see each marker, or if you don't want to see a specific marker on your leaderboard, you'll go ahead and uncheck that. And then another thing before I move on is if you click on each marker, you'll see that you can name the marker. Typically, this is kind of how we configure it. If you just type in mile-1 or mile-2, that's kind of how we like to configure it. You can see here that there's specific categories. You have a mile marker category, start finish category, and you have a lot of these categories that you can select specific markers to be named. And then for the pop-up details, this is what's going to show up on the spectators' phones and the runners' phones. So the title of the marker, so like as Shelly was saying, if you have a sponsor that's sponsoring mile 1, you'll name this, something like RunSignUp mile 1 or something like that. And then here you can insert specific links that might go to the sponsor. You can have additional details. If you have like an image for that sponsor, this is where you can insert that image. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see all the icons that we can offer. So yeah, you can just kind of go through that and see all the icons we offer. So at this point, loaded in a course map, made sure all the mile markers are in the right location. We've set the configuration up here in the timing configuration. That's the general gist. That's the basics of all you have to do. Once you get that done, you can just select Save Map and then Certify Map. So it's important for you guys to understand that once you hit the Certify Map, it'll come up with Not Certified or Confirmed. You'll confirm it, And that's how this event is going to be now live on RaceJoy. So until you hit certify map, the event won't be live on RaceJoy. And then just another thing for you guys, if you click this preview and share, we generate a link here. So if you on your race page or on a external website, if you just copy and paste that link, that'll take all participants to your map on RaceJoy. So that's really it. You just got to load in a course map, make sure all your markers are in the right location, set up your timing configuration, save it, and then certify map. And that's how you get a race live on RaceJoy. So what we're going to talk about as well is going to be two common issues that we see on RaceJoy. These issues are, I would say, like 95 to like 99% of the things that you'll see specifically. The first one is we're going to talk about a proximity issue. So what is a proximity issue? So I'll kind of tell you what it is and then I'll show you. So basically with what we're doing here is very similar to like a timing system. We're trying to figure out the number of occurrences that come through on a specific location. The thing with GPS is that our read field, or like our radius, is a lot larger than like a 5-meter mat. So, and we can't distinguish whether an occurrence is a pass or if it's not a pass. So what I mean by that is if you take a look at this course here, so they start up here, they run through here, go through mile 1, go through mile 2, come down here on mile 3, so they come down south on this street here. What they do is they make a right on 37th Street, and then they come down south here. So at this point, when they reach this area, they still haven't hit mile 4. Since the way to hit mile 4, they have to go all the way back down, make a left, come back down, and then as they're going back up, that's when they hit mile 4. So when they're coming down south on this area, they're only at mile 3.75. The issue is that in GPS, each marker has a radius of 60 meters. So basically, if you fall within that 60-meter radius, you're going to get a read. So in RaceJoy, you're just going to fire at mile 4 saying that you're within this radius, and now you're going to get an alert saying you're at mile 4, and you get all your audio alerts and all that stuff. But really, you're at mile 3.75. And again, it's a poor experience for the runners. So if the radius is 60, what can we do? Any ideas? So yeah, what I heard was just reduce that radius. So if you go back into timing configuration, this point radius is exactly what that is. So you can reduce the point radius. So another kind of cheat sheet that we kind of have for you guys, if you come into actions and you go toggle marker radius, go ahead and click on that. We show you that 60-meter radius here. So this is just like another good visualization for you guys. If you're still kind of unsure, you can see that anything within this circle is going to be a read at mile 4. So you can see that at this point they're still coming down south, and they're coming within this read field, meaning that at 3.75 they're going to get a read at mile 4.
What about it out back where they're running?
Good question. That's my next scenario. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that in just a second. So let's reduce that mile 4 radius. Let's just say we'll reduce that to 40 meters. We'll hit save. We typically don't go anything under 30 meters. And if you get anything under 30 meters, the out and back situation is kind of going to come into play where you'll fix the situation via the same method I'm going to show you with an out and back.
So again, it's a field of uncertainty. And you guys understand this from your RFID, right? So based upon when the GPS satellite sample happened, and also, they got that one variable, how good the phone is and how well it's sampling. A lot of these phones don't work down to 10 meters like they should. So there's some uncertainty there. So again, going down to anything less than like 20 meters, you're probably going to start causing some false misses. So a general rule of thumb is like 30 meters, take it down to like 20, 30 meters would be about the smallest you want to do.
All right, so I went ahead and reduced that radius to 40. So you can see now, like, as they're coming down DeSoto, they're no longer in that read field. So that's kind of how you're going to get around this proximity issue. So in your certification, just reduce mile 4 to 40 or 35. So the next thing we're going to talk about is what the gentleman back there pointed out is an out and back issue. So let's take a look at that. So they come up mile 4 here. They come around, run through mile 5 here, come down 6, and then come down 7, then they hit 8 here. So just from a visual standpoint, nothing official, just looking at this map. Does it look like the distance between miles 6 and 7 is equal to the distance between miles 7 and 8, just from the marker points? No, it doesn't, right? So it looks like mile 8 is a lot closer. It looks like it's like less than a mile. That's because it is. So what they do is when they come down here on this course, they're coming down, they fire at 7 here on the way down. They have to keep going down here, turn around, and then come back up on 8. So that's where they hit 8 on the way back up. So if we were to look at mile 8, well, we can't really reduce the radius to 0 because then no one's going to get an alert at 0. So what can we do? So we can add what we call a dummy point. So basically, if you remember back, RaceJoy fires sequentially by the distance. So everything is in order by the distance of each marker. So if you add a dummy point, let's say at like 7.8, and if you add that into your timing configuration, sequentially, RaceJoy is going to think, okay, it's going to go mile 6, mile 7, mile 7.8, and then mile 8. So the idea would be to add a 7.8 dummy marker so that when the runners come down this point, they get to mile 8, and RaceJoy says, okay, I'm at mile 8, have I fired at 7.8? If the answer is no, they're not going to get an alert at mile 8. So again, just kind of visually showing you that by adding the point, it's kind of a lot easier once you kind of see it. To add a marker, if you come to the top right-hand corner, this button right here, this add a marker, if you just click on that, your cursor is going to turn into like a crosshair. And then let's just say we come down here and we just click right there. And that'll add the marker down there. If you come back up and click on this hand tool, it's going to switch it back. And if we click on the marker here, so now we're going to kind of set up this marker. So let's name it mile 7.8. And the category is going to be a mile marker. We're going to give the title the same, mile 7.8. And we like to use this timing point icon. So you go ahead and click on that, and we'll hit save. So once we've hit save, you can see that the marker is right here. So now we have to configure it. So if you come back up to timing configuration, you'll see at the very bottom is mile 7.8. So since this doesn't have a distance, it doesn't know where sequentially it's going to go. So let's set that to 7.8, and let's just hit enter. We'll hit save. And you can see now once you hit save, it automatically puts it into the correct order based on the distance. So if you look at just the timing configuration, nothing visual, you know that sequentially it's got to go start, mile 2, mile 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 7.8, then 8, right? So if we come back to the map, let's take a look at that. So they're coming down here, south on here. They've hit this point. At this point, they haven't hit mile 7.8. So since they haven't hit mile 7.8, they're not going to get an alert at mile 8. So they have to run all the way down, get this alert, come back up, and then now they've hit mile 8 at the true mile 8. Now, if you're a runner, you don't really care about what your pace is at 7.8. You don't care about your split point. That's pretty irrelevant, right? So this is where we're going to go back into timing configuration. And we don't want the spectators and we don't want the runner to get an alert at 7.8. This is strictly just for internal uses to make sure that the runners don't get alert at mile 8. So if we come in time configuration, since we don't want the spectators and runners to get an alert, we'll go ahead and uncheck that at mile 7.8. And since we don't want the runners to get an audio alert, we'll go ahead and uncheck that marker at 7.8. And if you just come down here and hit save, that'll automatically save everything. And so at this point, this marker is strictly internal. The runners aren't going to get an alert. Spectators aren't going to get an alert. This is strictly just making sure that they don't get an alert at mile 8. Another thing, so if you guys look here, if you see they're coming here on 5, you see that mile 12 is on the same exact path as when they're coming back up. So they come down here, and they're trying to hit 6. When they're on like 5.5, do you think 12 is going to fire? Right. Sequentially, what has to fire before 12? 11? 10, 9, 8, so on and so forth, right? So when they're at this specific location, they're running down here, they're at mile 12, RaceJoy's thinking, okay, I'm here at this specific marker, have I hit 11? No. Have I hit 10? No. No. Everything is no, so which means they're not going to get a fire at 12, so you don't have to worry about that. So kind of the same situation down here, so they're coming up on 9, they're coming up on 9, and they come through 11. Are they going to get a read at, are they going to get a fire at 11? No. Same thing. 10 is all the way back here already. So 11, when they're at 11, our system knows that, okay, sequentially 10 comes before 11. Since they haven't hit 10, we're not going to fire and get a read at 11. So that's all you guys have to do for your certification is load the course in and make sure all your markers are in the right location. I'm going to tell you guys right now, part of your certification is we want you guys to move your finish marker to the corner of East Hall Street. All right, so move your marker and then move it to East Hall Street. Make sure your markers are in the right location, set up your proximity issue, and then set up your out and back issue. And then just make sure you're saving your map. You can save your map as you are doing your work and everything like that. Just make sure you save your map and then certify your map once you're all set.
So again, here's the certification steps. So I'm going to throw it up on the screen here. You're going to load the Map My Run Savannah race. You're going to certify that the start finish and the milestones are correct. So what we told you is that the finish is not right. The finish needs to be moved to Hall Street. You're going to look for proximity and out and back issues, and you're going to have to handle those. So Kevin trained you on how to handle the proximity. There's two choices there. One is change the radius. Play around the toggle radius so you can kind of see how that works. The other option is add another point. You're going to make sure the timing configuration is filled out. You have to tell us the distance of the overall course. The actual path could measure 13.3 miles, but this is certified as the 13.1. You have to tell us what the certified distance of this course is on the finish. And then you want to just make sure that you set your map to be saved and certified. So those are the steps.
So something that I want to talk about, because I totally forgot about it, is going to be this recalculate position that we have. So if you, let's just say you have mile 7 here, and in your timing configuration you set the distance to 7 here, right? If for whatever reason you ended up putting the marker like all the way out here, in the timing configuration it's set to mile 7 already. So it still knows that based on GPS we're looking for 7. So if you come up to actions and recalculate mile positions, it's going to snap mile 7 back to that specific location. So in that out and back situation, if you're ever not too sure exactly where like 7.8 is, if you just put like 7.8, kind of get in the general area, you can select that recalculate mile positions and then it'll snap all the markers back to where it's based off of GPS. The thing to look out for is, since we want you guys to move the finish marker to a different location, when you hit recalculate mile positions, it's going to snap that finish back to the original finish based on the GPS. So just kind of be aware, like when you hit recalculate, it's going to recalculate every single marker that's out on the course. So what I like to do is I load in the course and then I'll recalculate first, make sure everything is right, and then move the markers to what I need it to be, and then continue with the configuration, save, certify, and everything like that. So
because even after you save it, when you hit recalculate, it's just going to wipe out all your
correct. Yeah. So recalculate first, then make sure your locations are in the right spot, and then continue with it. I'm thinking everyone's going to get 100%, right?